Well, I want to thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge our accomplishments with the future, and that's what we do every year here at this Energy Summit. The first thing I'd like to acknowledge our energy industry, which is who is in this room. The people who put work, the people who make Kern County an economic powerhouse. And if I can't get this thing to work, can somebody just push the little laptop in the back, please? Thank you. Okay. Let's talk again. Richard kind of set us up here. We are a natural resource county. We are larger than the state of Rhode Island. We're bigger than the state of Massachusetts if you take all the water out. And we are blessed with not just a vital workforce and people who know how to get things done, but energy sources, oil, geothermal, the sun, the wind. And so that is one of our future opportunities, but it's also a challenge. So let's talk about our oldest industry. Richard mentioned this oil and gas EIR. This is really a function of our forward-thinking industries. And I know that later today you're going to be hearing about some of the exciting innovations that the oil and gas industry is actually bringing forward. But we are the most environmentally protective oil and gas extraction in California, bar none. There is nowhere else in California where they protect the environment with their oil and gas drilling like we do now. No other industry in the San Joaquin Valley, which is 8 counties in that air district, contributes as much air mitigation for their impacts as the oil industry does now. Since 2015, at the end of 2015, when we adopted this oil and gas EIR, the oil industry has contributed $43 million into their emission reduction programs that are designed to create grants that go back to communities in all 8 counties, but we're working harder to get it back into our counties. It goes to nonprofit businesses, it goes to cities, and they then take out of the inventory something that's polluting. So for example, they take agricultural engines that are now diesel, and they turn them over to electric. They take different kinds of fleets and turn them over into LNG. And we are looking for those kinds of projects. Kern County produces the oil that makes all this happen. Here is an analysis of what's happening. And this was only in 2015. So the fact that we are leading the way, not just in oil and gas production, but in finding ways that work for the industry to continue this kind of production, but at the same time move into a realm where we are protecting the environment is important. So people have seen this before, but this needs to sink in. When I picked California Dreaming, I also meant it in an ironic way. California dreams a lot. But as I'm going to speak a little bit more later in this presentation, they don't always look at the impacts on local governments outside of Northern and Southern California. Sacramento does not look at the impacts of their regulations on the Great Middle, which is where we are, yet we produce their energy. Let that sink in. We provide the implementation for these policies that they're bringing forward, but they don't look at the implications. So as an example, although we have the most environmentally protective, we've processed over 5,000 permits in these years of regulation since 2015. I'd also like to point out that not only are we the most environmentally protective, but we're the quickest. Those permits, each one of them, was issued within 7 days. I don't think you can get something from the DMV in 7 days. I don't think you can get something from your doctor in 7 days. And most of the time, as my team will tell you, it actually only took 4 days. And yet there's over 89 mitigation measures. There are payments, there are avoidance measures, there are things that that producer has to do. But we have been committed as a local government in finding online ways of streamlining that permitting, and we now have this success. And I believe that the industry was skeptical at first. We have a number of them here. They'll tell you that it all sounded good. I am an optimist. I thought it sounded good too. I wasn't sure we could produce, but I'd like to tell you that our track record is good in the planning department. The entire, how many people have driven past the outlets at Tahone? That was permitted in 7 days as well. They have an over-the-counter site plan 7-day review. So since my department figured out how to do that, we figured we could figure out how to do this. And so, do we cut corners? No. We don't cut corners. What we do is find the way through regulatory roadblocks, particularly at the state level. So although we have been sued, and we have ongoing litigation on the oil and gas, the court saw the benefit of this program and decided not to stop permitting. So we have continued to permit, and on that litigation, we had one thing we needed to fix, and that was the impact on grazing and grazing land. So we leaped into action, and I have already brought forward the supplemental environmental impact report. It's going to the Planning Commission on Thursday night. It'll go to the board in December. Local government needs to be quicker. I mean, I may be quick, but I need to be quicker. Okay, wait a minute. This isn't the first solar table, is it? No, that's over there. Okay. We need to move faster, because Sacramento comes out with a soundbite, and investors show up, and then local government has all these rules and regulations, which were given to us by Sacramento, and we can't execute. We have our industry partners here who are trying to put people to work. We have our financial people here who are investing millions of dollars, and we are committed in the planning department as a directive from the Board of Supervisors to find ways to make that permitting work. And one of the things that we are known for is not just making it work here. I use my relationship with Sacramento to constantly push on those doors. Why can't we do it a different way? We are environmentally protective. We are doing full environmental impact reports. Why does it take so long to get through these state agencies? So the oil and gas EIR is more than just something for the oil industry. It sets a new precedent, and there are many people all over California watching this closely for things like housing. If you can do a project-level environmental impact report for 2.3 million acres for oil, why can't we do it for other projects and other industries that need that kind of streamlining? I haven't found any industry that said, I don't want to be environmentally protective. It's 2018, you're in California. You want to do that, go to Wyoming. Go to Nevada, okay? Go someplace else. If you're in California and you're a business person, what you want is certainty, and you want to know how long it's going to take. Because those financiers from New York are interested in their return. They're not interested in a 7-year project and then we build. So part of what we want to do with this new type of of project level review is replicated in our general plan. And we'll be updating our general plan. It'll be at the board by the end of 2019 as a concept. We want to try and streamline all businesses, not just the energy that we've already worked on. This is one of my favorite pictures because it includes two of my favorite things out in Eastern Kern, which is solar and wind. Wind, right? It's unusual to be able to get a picture that includes both of them. How many people have not been out? Come on, you can confess. You have not driven out to 170th Street and Avenue A. Or you've never driven down Avenue D, which is 138 from I-5. If you haven't, you're missing something. This is a testament to what $53 billion of private investment can do. It is overwhelming to see the solar and wind. It's there. There was nothing there before. It wasn't going to be anything before. And it just continues to produce energy and produce benefits for Kern County. So I know he said 15,000, but you know, he likes to round up, so we actually have a verified 12,312. We have in process about 2,300, but I haven't talked to my staff today, so for all I know, I have 4,000 in process. Companies are planning things they haven't told us about, and it's all irrelevant for the numbers, because the truth is, we're number one in renewable energy in California. We are number one. Nobody has surpassed us. And that includes rooftop. All of these numbers also include rooftop. It includes the city projects where they do it for their own use. School districts, this is behind the meter. Many people here don't know that because of changes in streamlining a few years ago in our department zoning, many agricultural producers who want to be able to go to Whole Foods and say that their carrots were made with solar. Grimway has 4.2 megawatts of solar. Now, I just want to put a frame around this. In 2008, when the big horse race started, essentially, because we ended up with transmission, the largest solar project in the world was 10 megawatts. Let that sink in. Now, when someone brings me a project and my staff says it's only 200 megawatts, it's only 400 megawatts. You know, you have to get up to 800 megawatts to impress us now. Okay, oh, it's a megawatt. Grimway has 4.8. That's the revolution. That's the revolution. And it happened here. It didn't happen in San Francisco, who has essentially litigated over a couple of solar panels on a church or a little tiny wind turbine that was sticking up above a house. It didn't happen in LA because most of the renewable energy that LADWP has is in Kern County. Just so you know, SCAPA, which is the Southern California Power Authority, is, and somebody can help me here, but I think it's 12 to 14 cities. They each have a piece of Kern County. Anaheim, Pasadena, Riverside, all take small pieces of these projects. There isn't a city you can drive through in LA that isn't being powered by a Kern County project. Now, is that good for us? Sure it is. Because all of those projects, LADWP, anybody else, has coordinated with us. They are not invading us. They are partners with us. We are extremely happy with our partnership with LADWP power side. The sanitation side's a little different conversation, and we've made up with them, but they're still the outlier cousin. And they agreed. They can't produce these projects. They're astounded and thrilled with what we can produce. Because of that, there are agreements where they do pay sales tax, they do pay a certain amount of property taxes. There are agreements with them that have been very successful with us. And that is the second issue We are willing to produce power for the rest of the state. We are not willing to do it for nothing. We're not willing to do that. We're not going to be an invaded county. Because last time I looked, we're not building major solar projects in Beverly Hills. These are the contributions. I think one of my favorites, which I restate every time there's a new press release, is the $53 billion of investment. What that means is that private investors, Kern County gave no reduction for these projects. Now, the state gave the solar industry a slight reduction in their property tax assessment, but that's not the point. The point is energy investments last forever. Nobody invests that kind of money in a county like a big box Walmart or a... How many people remember when cities used to fight over Kmarts? We did. We wanted that Kmart. And now we're left with an empty box. That doesn't happen with energy. At the end of 30 years, that solar project will have better technology, smaller technology, and they'll repower. We're repowering our wind right now. Transmission will not go away. So that $53 billion to me is important because it shows the confidence they have in the Board of Supervisors and the political stability of the commitment of this county to energy. It's also fueled by Sacramento's support. And I can't say enough about how much the CPUC and the CEC does appreciate what we've done here. They are always asking me, what more can we do? I keep telling them to get out of the way, but that doesn't usually work. So I usually come up with some new idea after talking to the industry, and we try to continue that collaboration. But let's talk about the other ironic California dreaming. So how many people know SB 100, or you've heard bad things? See, the oil industry's right there. We're right there, right? Okay, this was the groundbreaking legislative last act of Governor Brown. The RPS benchmark actually is 50% renewable by 2026. Today's the end of 2018. 60% by 2030, and 100% carbon-free energy by 2045. And then there's some other stuff thrown in there. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the carbon-free is not a mandate. It's a goal. We're going to set a goal so that everybody gets excited about it. Now, obviously, I've had lots and lots and lots of conversations. I didn't start them, but they called me. Great, what are we going to do now? You're number one. Well, I think it's an interesting soundbite, both inside California and outside California. But the people sitting in this room are the people who make stuff happen. They're the people who have to construct. They're the people who have to get through permitting. And let's not forget they have to first find the land to do all this. Not to mention the 32 million cars on the road. But the people who wrote this don't have any reality in that. And so while the RPS, yeah, they did something in 2002, but it's really 2006, that supercharged the renewable portfolio standard. That set off what I call the great horse race. Who's going to build? Who's going to invest? What companies will survive? Most of them didn't. The renewable energy companies that are here are the ones that survived and are still scrapping to survive. This is going to be different. SB 100 is not going to be like that. Because these are some of the consequences. First of all, we're only at 32% now. And we have hundreds of thousands of acres covered with wind and solar. And we still have 32 million internal combustion engines, and the Prius still uses plastic, for its something. I'm sure some of the Prius is plastic, which comes from petroleum products. Which part? All of it. All of it's plastic. Thank you, Peter. Right? This next comment is like talking about your salary. It's a very delicate subject. with renewable energy companies, but let's just be honest, most of the transmission capacity is gone. The almost 7,000 megawatts that the Tehachapi Transmission Renewable Project, which was fantastic, which started this all, we're now scrimping and finding little bits and upgrading, and it's getting more and more expensive. Now, where does transmission go? It goes to Southern California. And who's against repowering lines in their backyard? Where? That's right, all of them. There are people who bought a house with a transmission corridor behind them, and in the simulations, the tower went from here to there, and they protested. Because they want to flip the switch and get power, but they don't want to know where it comes from. And they want green power, but they don't want to know where it comes from. So we have a problem. And I was invited to be by the CEC on Ready 2.0, which is the next transmission. I went up there, I've been to workshops. They're very concerned about this issue. But the question is the new governor and the new legislature concerned enough to really do something to essentially make the case that transmission has to go somewhere and you have to upgrade it? And all those great ideas about this wireless electricity and all these other ideas isn't going to happen. And we have to get transmission upgrades. Second, I'm very excited about alternative fuels. And we have a number of them, people that come to me, but it's not perfected yet. We have the push-pull of hydrogen. Sacramento wants hydrogen and nobody else does. I mean, I don't see all of the fueling stations. Same way with LNG trucks. And we have done a number of pilot projects. In fact, by the next year at the Energy Summit, I've made a list of our pilot projects and compared it to other counties. We've done more pilot projects here in Kern County on alternative fuels than anybody. And yet they still don't have the investment necessary to build it. So that's an evolving issue. And then, of course, the NIMBY issue, which also applies to projects. Put it someplace else. Why don't we put it out in that desert? I don't know. People who live in the desert in Kern County have concerns about that. Okay, let's put it in all that ag land that I drive past I-5. Well, I think the ag industry and other people have questions too. So we still have this NIMBYism alive and well. And I just want to point out that what we really have is a housing crisis. We don't have an electricity crisis. So if we're going to invest all this time and money into reshaping our electricity delivery, what are we doing about putting people in houses and doing something about homelessness? How is that investment the right focus when we've made so much strides now? So these are good sound bites. The one that concerns me even more, I'll wander over here, is that this supports the keep it in the ground folks. Does everybody here know what keep it in the ground means? Is there anybody here who doesn't? Okay, thank you. So this is the idea that we should just stop producing oil, like right now. We have 32 million cars, maybe more. We may have 34 million by now. I don't know, that was my last soundbite. We have 32 million cars on the road that use this. We have 100,000 electric vehicles, something like that. We have 58,000 active oil wells in Kern County, 58,000. We have 100 years of tanks and processing and pipes and a lot of other stuff, and we have thousands of jobs. And yet, Sacramento's answer is, Lorelei, let's just turn it off. It is a cruel soundbite. It is a thoughtless soundbite. I am the first person to be willing to reach across any aisle, any table, any chair, and have a real conversation. And when we did the oil and gas EIR, the industry allowed themselves to be regulated. I've never met an industry that came forward and said, hey, you know what, Lorelei, I want more regulation because I have to. But their backs were against the wall in California. They can't seem to beam the oil out. Well, I hope they're working on that. And so we had to save Kern County, to save our jobs, to save our property taxes, to save their companies. They said, look, can we trade permit streamlining for regulation? And can we create a regulatory atmosphere that's not competitive? Like, I'm going to cut a deal with you, but your deal's not as good. And we did that. And Sacramento loved it behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, they thought it was wonderful. But publicly, they still continue to say, no, 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 we need to get out of the oil business. Okay, but what's your plan? So for anybody here who thinks there's a real plan, there is no plan. There is absolutely no transition plan when these people say that. I guarantee you that. I've actually offered them, hey, you know what? I'll defect. I'll be like one of those Russian defectors. Show me the plan, convince me that it works, convince that you will not reduce Kern County to a Kentucky coal county where everybody's unemployed and 75-year-olds are learning to code. Make sure, tell me the plan. Tell me you're going to give Kern County and the cities $2 billion so that we can rebuild ourselves. And they all look at me privately and say, Lorelei, we don't have a plan, but we know we can get one. So SB 100 is their plan, right? So people like to think that planning was based on some sort of, I don't know, people got together and said, that would be a good place for the residential, and this would be a great place for the manufacturing. No, it was all driven by technology. We got railroads, and that's where the cities went. We got telegraphs, and that's where the bigger cities went. We got electric vehicles, and now we're shaped by that. So technology shapes our land planning. And while I believe in planning, I spent my whole career in it, I also believe in what President Eisenhower said. Plans are useless, but they're indispensable. So we have to continue to plan. So what does Richard Crum think it was going to turn out? So he came up with 3 scenarios. The top scenario is called the ecological disaster. He calls the next one the fun fix. This is the fun fix, techno fix, right? We're all going to have flying cars, and I want somebody to get on that right now. I know they are, but I mean like really. And then the last is ecotopia, right? Now, how many people think the one at the bottom is the one that people in San Francisco, by the way, if you're from San Francisco, I adore that you're here. I'm just saying you should manage your own city and county and not manage us. And if you're from Los Angeles, I thank you, okay. And if you're from Los Angeles, I worked there, I lived there, I loved it. Just manage your stuff, okay? Don't manage ours. Let's collaborate instead. So these are the 3 possibilities. Business as usual is not going to work. Whatever we've been doing is not going to work. Business as usual will not work. We either design our future or San Francisco and LA will design it for us. They're hard at work. And the future they want may not fit with our 900,000 people. I can guarantee you it might not work. But we can influence that. We are number 1 in energy. They can't ignore us. That's the exciting part. That's what the $53 billion investment and the trillions of dollars of investment the oil industry has given us. We are players. We are the people who are going to shape this future. But not if we're complacent. Not if we just sit back and say, it all worked out before. I hang around with oil people as well as renewable oil people, but I was struck by this comment I heard from some of them, kind of like you overhear things, and it was, I'm just trying to lose money slower. I don't want them to lose money slower. I want them to make money faster. I want all businesses to make money. We want people to be put to work. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, these innovation solutions on energy storage. I am an open door for energy storage. Everybody here knows this. We have a number of battery storage pilot projects. They got to get the prices to work out, but I can get them their innovation. We have an innovation pump storage project. I had someone who came to me that wanted to put compressed air into an old mine. I love them all. Whatever it takes, we can streamline that permitting because people need to have that certainty to get investment. So pilot projects so that you can get information on air, information on reliability are things that our department's always interested in. We are interested in this new trend, which is projects for what's called CO2 removal, negative emission technology. It is the leading edge. I'm in conversation with people at Lawrence Livermore Lab. I told them, look, anybody who has an idea, I'm open. Come see us. The real problem with CO2 recovery, and everybody's excited about it and say, oh, the oil industry can use it, is you don't produce enough. The oil industry needs a lot of CO2, not a little CO2. You think, the environmentalist thinks it's a lot. It's nothing compared to what they actually need. And they're doing other innovative things, which you're going to hear about from other speakers today. We want to have proactive conversations on transmission, and we have been having those conversations, as well as looking at things like LED-to-BP's line, what is that going to take to get that upgraded? Are there things we could do in our general plan? Are there things that the state could do to help counties and cities mitigate this whole transmission NIMBYism? So we're talking about that. And then, we're in conversations with the solar and wind industry about the economic benefits of renewable energy for local revenue. The thing that I love about the renewable energy projects that we've had is these companies didn't miss a beat saying, how can we help? They funded everything from the solar streetlights that we have in Mojave and Rosamond to a electronic scoreboard at the 55-year-old Rosamond High School that's now actually christened the EDF scoreboard. Now you got to get EDF as the largest provider of power in France. They actually own all the nuclear and everything else, and so to see these French guys standing in this little tiny high school football field with everybody excited because they gave them a $27,000 scoreboard was really something, right? These companies never say no. The renewable energy industry came and said they were committed to becoming part of our fabric, and they have. They have quietly given donations for Thanksgiving baskets that nobody knows about. They, when we had the mudslide out on Highway 58, there was a church out there. When the Red Cross pulled out, this church expended all of their money housing and feeding people there. And an unnamed, who wants to remain anonymous, renewable energy company made them whole again. And all it took was for them to hear about it. So we are one energy family now. And that is the economic future. And then lastly, and people know about this, I want to continue to work on the co-benefits with the Sustainable Groundwater Act. We have hundreds of thousands of acres of land that's not going to have water to be able to grow anything. What can we do with that? Can we use it for renewables? Can we use it for habitat that benefits the oil industry? I want to do CEQA streamlining. I want those business owners that own that land to get monetized, and I want to use that. Now, that is something that Sacramento loves. See, when I find something they're interested in, I'll ride that horse forever. And that's one they love. And they've invited me to be on a water priority panel for the governor next week. And I'm excited so I can speak about what we're doing down here. Let's bring ideas forward. So the question I have is, are you in or out? If you're going to design a future, it means you have to get serious about the existential threat to Kern County, and not like a, oh, woe is me. Kern County is always under threat. That's who we are. And we have designed a vibrant economic future. We're attracting e-commerce now as the third leg of our ag, oil, and then everything else, I call it. So, I know, Richard, that's not really how you're supposed to talk about it, but I talk about it as a triangle. And oil and ag kind of bounce up and down at the top. It's oil, ag, and then everything else. There's renewables, there's aerospace, which is growing. Now there's e-commerce. And so I look forward to a partnership with you. Bring me your ideas. Bring me your pilot projects. Stick in with us for the long haul. But we cannot just be reactive. We haven't been reactive since 2009. We are no longer a reactive county where we just wait for Sacramento to punch us. And then we go, oh yeah. No, we've been punching back since 2009. And it's been very successful, and the doors are open for us. But I don't know what to bring through the door. Now, if the idea is that you move all the permitting to Sacramento, good luck. Okay, the PUC can over-engineer a cupcake. So I don't think pulling local permitting up there is the idea. And you have projects in other places. So bring me your ideas. I'd be more than happy to help the Board of Supervisors be a leader in this. They are always interested in business streamlining. And they're always interested in us punching back at Sacramento. So thank you very much. I appreciate you giving us the time.